So an important aspect for good environmental management in an outdoor piggery is taking soil samples. And today we're going to look at the 3 steps for successful soil sampling: understanding your requirements, testing in the paddock, and interpreting the results. So step 1 is understanding the requirements. And usually before you come out into the field, you check for the requirements against your environmental license or your development consent. Now, if they don't have specific details, then you might go to the national guidelines or the APEX standards. And what you're looking for is what paddocks need to be sampled, the frequency at which they need to be sampled, and the depths and analysis parameters that you need to be checking for. In the APEX standards, you're required to sample within 2 months of certification, before pigs enter any new area, and after 24 months when pigs are leaving an area. Step 2 is sampling in the field. Now, what you'll need is some basic equipment to do this. Today I've got a foot corer for doing the surface samples and a hand corer here for taking samples at depth. You can use a hydraulic corer if you have one of them, or a post hole digger at a pinch. Now here we're in a paddock that's been stocked for about 24 months, so it's time to sample. So you need about 10 sample sites. Each one's likely to be down to a depth of about 600 mils. And you need to lay the soil out as you go, so you can tell the shallower depths and as you get it deeper. At this point, it's a good idea to take a field texture. So if it's not moist enough, you might need a little bit of water to add to it. And form a ball, do some ribbon tests. There's a good YouTube on this, so I won't run through it. We'll put the link at the end of the clip. So you need to take 10 samples from each depth that you're testing for. Then you can mix them in a bucket to make a composite sample for the whole paddock. Bag that up and send it off to the laboratory. Now you want to remember to label that with a descriptor that you'll recognise when it comes back from the lab. So a paddock name, for example, the farm name and the date, so that when it comes back you'll know what it's talking about. So about 2 weeks after sending those samples away to the lab, you'll get back a result sheet like this. You can do a basic assessment of this yourself, just comparing against the national guidelines, which I've got here. So for example, if we have a look at the coal phosphorus levels in the analysis, we've got our clay contents from our ribbon test before, and a pH level, then we can check it against the trigger levels here in the environmental guidelines, and in this case we get a tick. Now for a more detailed assessment, that's when you might want to go to your agronomist or a soil scientist to help you out with that. So to summarise, we've got 3 steps for successful soil sampling. You need to understand your requirements before you go. You need to sample according to those requirements when you get to the paddock, and then you need to interpret those results against the guidelines.